Jennifer got that for me.
There you go, Jennifer. We're live.
Well,
see, unlike you, I don't do the 3, 2, 1. I just couldn't do it this morning.
That's okay. That's all right.
We're live today on the decision table, so thank you for coming on. And we are just going to have a full-on conversation. I've been having them since day one of this month, this year, because, you know, I don't know about you, Christopher, sorry, but
okay.
I'm an Aussie, well, kind of an Aussie, if you know what I mean.
Kind
of. Well, I am an Aussie. I live in Aussie, but I have to say kind of, because in Australia, when you're born in New Zealand, they don't really class you as an Aussie, even though I've lived longer here in Australia than I have New Zealand. So I'm an Aussie Kiwi. There we go. Combo. And I can't even remember what I was going to say, but welcome to the decision table. That's what I was going to say. I don't know about you, but last year was a pretty interesting year with some few little challenges and a few little pivots and changes, just
a small bit,
a tiny little bit, right? And it's funny because I was listening at the end to a lot of leaders actually across the world and conversations around what they were seeing, what they were feeling, where they were at. And it's funny because when they were moving into 21, they thought that it was going to change and everything's going to be so different from the turn of that clock. And I thought, well, the only way anything is going to change is if we do it differently. And I was like, well, what am I going to do at the turn of the clock that is going to be different right from the start to sort of almost reset and make sure that this year was not going to be a repeat of last year? You know, there were some amazing things, but it was a really challenging year, to be honest. And I know lots found it that way. So I decided that every day for the month, at least in January, I would have conversations on the decision table with amazing people anywhere, friends of mine across the world. And we would look at something that I'm going to be putting together a white paper around, and that is the new approach to leadership. So, really, you know, when we get together, we talk. We have many things to say. We don't hold back. And that's what this is for, like us just to have a conversation around that, around anything, and just seeing how that shows up in your world. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you're not seeing a need for a new approach to leadership. I'd love insights around that as we continue talking today. So are you up for it?
I am up for it, and I definitely have a lot to say, but I'll let you talk too.
So today I'm wearing a cap because I just wanted to get in rapport with you because I know you love your caps.
You look really good in caps too, by the way. Can you hear me okay? Is the volume all right?
Dude, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, good, perfect. Fantastic. I want to make sure. So yeah, you look very good in hats too, by the way. So
I love wearing them. I always have, even as a teenager.
Some people don't look good in hats. They don't.
That is true.
But you look good in hats.
What type of head do you need for a hat?
You know, I don't know what it is, but my wife looks extremely good in hats. I wish she wore hats more. So I don't know, something about it. You know, I saw a picture of you on Facebook. I'm like, wow, you're really good in hats. So I think I did message you. I'm like, you look good in a hat.
Thanks.
But you know, for ladies, sometimes more they want to show their, they want to show the hair off and whatnot. But I don't know. Some people there's something about a hat. I don't know what it is. It's just some people look in hats.
It's cool, huh? I just love the fact that we can be us. And I think, if anything, that's what I want to see going forward. You know, whatever you're doing in your world, that you can be just you. And I think that that's not always been an easy thing, particularly as leaders in your own sphere of influence. Like, how do you turn up? What are people going to say, not say? Is it going to be accepted? Is it going to just make it so hard? I don't know. What are your thoughts of that?
You know, I was sitting around having a conversation with my son, and he goes, "Dad, do you remember Y2K?" And I'm like, "Do I remember Y2K?" I said, "I remember when everyone was sitting around looking at the clock, waiting for all the planes to drop. It was going to hit midnight, and all the planes in the sky were going to drop out of the sky and computers were going to shut off, and basically all this catastrophic stuff was going to happen. And everyone sat around, they watched the clock, and it turned. All the planes stayed in the air.
They did, didn't they?
No,
Tanya's with us today. Woohoo!
She's awesome. Hey, so yeah, oh, good. You can see people. So people were like, and so my son's like, the reason he brought that up is because we're all sitting around watching the countdown for the new year, and it was kind of that same reflection, like, okay, when it turns midnight, everything's going to be behind us, and we're starting over, and it was just a topic of conversation that we had, and there is a lot of different things. There are things that we need to do differently in 2021 now that we're in it. I love the decision table, and everything at the top of that looks absolutely fantastic. So whoever did that,
I did.
It looks amazing. I love that. The decision table, Decision Velocity Global. I just sitting underneath that, having my image underneath that up there, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. So good job on that. But yeah, it's a time for, we talked about this today as a family. Today's Sunday for us. I know you're already into your Monday. You're in the future, which absolutely blows my mind every time we talk. You're into the future. But we sat around today as a family, as part of our church, and we just talked about, we talked about leadership. We talked about things we need to do in the family, different ways we need to lead in the family. And so we had a lot of good topics we had today, and a lot of decisions were made today on things that we're going to do differently and going into 2021. And these decisions were made because we're looking for a different outcome. We're looking for different things to happen. And so, it was an interesting conversation.
Okay, you can't open that loop and say we had a great, conversation and we were talking about it and then we made some decisions. What were some of the things that came up?
I'd be glad to talk about that. Yes. So I can go into that. So one of the things is, from a timing standpoint for our family, from a functioning standpoint, I'm a father of 9. Those of Curie Marie knows that. Those of you that are introduced to me for the first time, I have 9 children. And so we have 2 of them that are not living at home. One is married. The other one is not living with us because of COVID-19. He plays sports. He does football and wrestle. And my wife had brain surgery, so we have to be very careful in COVID-19 exposure. He comes in contact with a lot of people because of the sports. And so he is living with another one of the families that they have a son that plays sports as well. So we just have that. We have more -2 at home. But one of the things that we decided is, one thing that's going to be really important to our family is having a better routine as a family. I'm not talking about individual routines. I'm talking about what type of routines can we do as a family that's going to help all of us be happy, be happier, feel like we're getting more done in the day, to feel closer as a family. We're closer now than we've ever been as a family as a result of being home so much. But we were looking at different things that we could do, decisions that we could make, that we could use that word pivot, which is used a lot right now, so that we would be more efficient as a family. And so one of the decisions that we came up with that we're going to really zero in on is a wake up time as a family and a bedtime as a family. And with a lot of moving parts and a lot of kids and a lot of people doing different things,
how do you make that?
So that was one. It was a big thing. It was a big win. So Kira, here's what we're going to do. We're getting together at a certain time we call spiritual time. And we get together as a family, and at that time, an alarm goes off. And actually, I want to say, Alexa. I don't want to. Oh, she heard me.
Otherwise, she's like, "What do you want, Christopher?"
Her. When I say her, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Her.
She goes off and says, "Hey, everybody, it's spiritual time." She does it twice.
That's so cool.
As an announcement. So it goes to every room has one of her in it. So everyone knows to come and congregate at the table, and we're going to read some scriptures together, out of Holy Scripture, and then we'll pray together as a family. And a lot of times, most of the time, we're praying for everybody else. We have a list of people we pray for, and we pray for them. And then at that point, when we're done, everybody goes to bed. Put your meditation app, your Calm app, or whatever you do. Everyone winds down, lights out at 10. That's it. So we feel that making that decision, just that one, will create a domino effect, and a whole bunch of other things are going to go right for us as a family. There's a lot of outcomes that we'll get from that one thing. We're going to get up earlier. People are going to be well rested. They're going to be not as cranky in the morning. And so anyway, so opening that.
Wait on, Christopher. You have to say good morning to Nikhil. He's on here right now.
Nikhil, good morning, my friend. As Nikhil references to me, Lord Christopher.
Yes, he's done that.
Is here. That he did that. Okay, good.
Yes.
Did I tell you what he did for me, Carrie Marie?
You have to in a second. I do actually know about Tell the World, because I think it's cool. But just on that routine, so Nikhil and I had a conversation on day 2. And we talked a lot about the challenge that we've been doing. Well, I've completed it. I'm actually on phase 1 right now. And that is around the whole 75-day challenge. And what was fantastic about that was not that these things that for me, it wasn't that I was doing actually anything crazier than I already do. It was that I was being consistent around it. And I think that consistency builds a routine in your world that then, of course, it flows into your professional world. So what you do personally goes into your professional, same professional into your personal. And I think that, this getting up at a certain time, going to bed, setting that time apart for spiritual time, is something that will springboard not just yourself, but your family. It'll connect you guys as even more so as a family, but also with, a joint purpose. I think that's a huge thing as well, right? And also a time where there's a safe space where as a family you could bring some things up probably. So it'll be interesting to watch that unfold. And I look forward to, hearing throughout the year what that sort of the learnings from that.
Thank you. I'll definitely update you. There's one more thing that we threw in there, and I'd love to say this. So we do personal interviews with our kids, and
personal interviews.
We're gonna be more faithful about this. Part of the New Year's resolution. I hate saying that, but just part of making change.
Okay, wait. Why do you hate it? Why is this such a thing on this New Year's resolution thing? Tell me.
I guess.
And anyone in the comments, do you love New Year's resolutions? Do you not? I am hearing it so much. And is it because, and I'll say this and then I'm going to throw it back to you. But is it because people don't like setting a goal and failing, because so many set it and fail by February? And so we're being softer as humans going, oh, New Year's resolutions isn't the way to go. Do you know what? Setting goals is the way to go. And having shifts along the way, and that goal can be tiny, it can be huge. I don't care. But if we aim at nothing, I don't know. Anyway, I'll get off that one.
No, I guess, there was someone else that called it something else, and I can't remember. Instead of saying New Year's resolutions, that they had a new way of saying it. I'm like, that's brilliant. I love it.
Oh, so we can still do it, but we've got to change the name now.
We got to change the name of it, because it seems like it just seems like that name's kind of beaten into the ground. It's kind of like when you walk into a room and you tell someone that you sell insurance, everyone runs away from you.
Yes,
because you're like, what? You sell insurance? So you say New Year's resolution, people are like, but so maybe we come up. I can't remember what this person called it, but anyway, we're going to do interviews with our kids. We're going to try and do them once a month, and that's where my wife and I get together. We sit down with them one-on-one, and it's not like we bring the spotlight in like they're being interrogated by a detective. It's just it's FaceTime, one-on-one time, just with them, no distractions. Where we're going to sit down and just say, hey, how you doing? How's everything going? And just check in with them on an intimate, close, one-on-one opportunity, and get them used to doing this so that it's something that they look forward to, and it's an opportunity for them to be able to. And we've done this in the past, and it's been great because we've had some of our children open up with things that they're struggling with, that they
Yeah.
felt comfortable talking to us about it. So we got away from it because we were around each other so much, being home with COVID and everything. We kind of just, well, we're around each other talking all the time, so we don't need to do it. But as part of a change or a New Year's resolution, I said it. We are going to start doing this faithfully, and so I'm excited. Tonight, we're going to do that tonight before the spiritual time at 9:30. We're going to do that with each one of the kids, and I'm looking forward to it because it's something that we used to do a lot, and we got away from it, and now we're going to actually structure it in. So
because you know it's beneficial, so it just becomes consistent in it. Nikhil says here we have a cultural expectation to fail with New Year's resolutions. People don't want to set themselves up to fail, so they avoid it. And I think that's what bugs me about it is, just because you've failed or it hasn't worked for you, that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, or that it, and it's not about the New Year's resolution. Like I actually don't, whatever, if that chooses to have a New Year's resolution or not, you don't, whatever. I choose themes. And so this year the theme is, what if I can see, and how do I see, and all that kind of concept around seeing humanity. And I want to be able to see humanity this year. And for me, that's sort of my lens in which I use it. So it's a lens in which I choose to make decisions out of. And this is part of that decision is, well, I believe if I'm to grow an awareness around humanity and what humanity is needing right now, then I need to have new conversations each day, because that's going to build me and shift me along the way. So that's my theme this month, is around the whole new approach to leadership. So it kind of interests me that we have to either change the name, or we have to make it sound a bit sexier because it didn't sound really cool because it was done differently, or really we're just covering something up and we're doing the same thing again and hoping it'll change. And it's those things that bug me. And I think, how often in leadership is that what leaders are doing or have done, or will we continue to do it? And I just think, hey, if you choose to have New Year's resolutions, do it. But do it proud, and don't worry if no one else is doing it. But if that's what works for you and that's what you need to be doing, and then it'll flow with everything else that you do as well. Like if I choose to be a woman that can be quite vocal at times around particular things that I don't agree on, then I'm okay to be like that, because that's me being true to who I am.
Yeah.
And I think, often in what we're doing, that we're not seeing that, or there's backlash to that, or consequences, or it's just not the thing to do.
I feel that one thing that we want to focus on is, as far as new resolutions or goals or whatnot, setting things that are going to make, a lot of people are like, okay, instead of saying we want to be a closer family, okay, great. Instead, we're like, all right, let's come up with an action, something that we can do. That's a New Year's resolution. And that action, a lot of people, goals are important, but what we want to do is we want to focus on things that are going to make change, versus saying, like I said, be closer as a family. Okay, great. Well, how about if we have a goal where we get together and for our spiritual time, and then we do this and this? The result of that, the benefit of that, if we do that, is going to be the closeness we're going to have as a family. So our goal, our focus, our resolution is to actually look at an action, something that we can physically do that's going to give us.
I love that. And that kind of, I just see a comment here by Tanya, and she says, I dumped New Year's resolutions too. I switched out the word to my intentions, which is more what you're saying, for the year. Then I can match my daily actions and intentions, etc., in alignment with that. See, to me, that's awesomeness right there.
Kudos. That is very good. Nice, very nice.
And Nikhil says, we also have a cultural view of failing as bad, but fail promotes growth. I think this is a good little segue into that conversation around failing and growth. I don't know about you, but I had to do a whole year, seriously, a whole year on, my whole goal for the year was failing, making mistakes. And that sounds so stupid. But for me, in the past, if I'd made mistakes, there was huge consequences to those mistakes as a young girl growing up. And so I took that on into my young adulthood and into, a little bit further into adulthood. And, so when I was began in business a few moons ago now, I didn't want to fail. I was a perfectionist in so many ways. And so that was literally my theme. And it turned into a year and a half before I could master actually realizing that failure wasn't a fail. It was actually an opportunity for me to springboard to the next. And it became something I actually looked forward to, what I was going to learn from that.
Henry Ford, I love his quote. I'll never forget it. He basically says, failure is just another opportunity to begin more intelligently.
Oh,
and
that's so
from
good.
a guy, I mean, Henry Ford, I know there's some negative things about him when you get into that, but as a whole, I mean, as far as an entrepreneur and someone that built something and changed and impacted the world with automobiles, and I'm from Detroit, Michigan, so obviously Henry Ford, I'm a little bit closer to him than you are over in Australia.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm from the Motor City, but
Yes.
it is true. Failure is an opportunity. Begin more intelligently. Okay, look, I did that. I failed on that. Why did I fail on it? What can I improve on? How can I begin more intelligently? How can I tweak this? And this is something I try and ingrain in my kids because, Kira, you're so right. Failure and what I have seen taught to my kids is failure's no. That's bad.
Yeah.
Failure's bad.
Yeah.
Whoa, wait a second. No, not really. I mean, my kids are big kids into sports. I mean, if you fumble that football, holy cow, does it change the course of the game?
Yeah.
How can you not well, I don't want to fail. I don't want that to happen. Well, a lot of conversations about that. I mean, sports.
Well, here's the thing though, like if you end up failing as a human, then you have this fear of failing as a human, guess what we will do? We'll never go to do anything that we might think that we will fail. So if you think about risk, I don't know, there's things that we need to take some risk on. And we don't want to, because if we do that and we fail, then that's going towards pain, not to something that we actually know there's benefit to, right? And I think that's so often the way with humanity, that we can and how we build things around us, our culture and what we're doing, that if we think there's going to be pain, if we think there's going to be failure in it, we just won't even go there, or we won't stick to it.
Yeah, because it hurts. People are like, I don't want to feel that way. Your body naturally avoids that. Your brain is like, whoa, wait a second, I don't want anything to do with that, so not going to do that.
Yeah.
It kind of works against it.
Oh, you've gone for a second there. I don't know if you've gone for everyone, but you've gone for me. So Oh, no. Can anyone else hear him? Can you hear me? At the gym, your muscles need to reach failure.
Okay, there we go.
What
I'm back.
Nikhil said, before they can become stronger. There is no failure, only feedback and growth.
Love it.
Yes,
I'm back.
Nikhil.
You can hear me?
I can hear you, dude.
Perfect. Good.
Loud and clear.
Well, what I was saying before the mic rudely cut me out, I don't know why it does that, but failing forward, I try and teach this to my kids all the time. Fail forward. And there's some of them are starting to get it. My one son that's 17 years old, we've had conversations about that, and it's just so important. I'm like, fail forward. But is
it fail? Is it failure if there's a learning from it? Are we actually meant to change that word around? And if it wasn't failure, what would we call it?
So taking that phrase, I mean, you've heard that before, right? Fail forward. How do we change that? What would be a good way to change it? I mean, I love the concept of it, fail forward, but we changed the word fail. Learn.
Because fail to me goes, oh, I'm going to stuff it up, is what we would say. Stuff it up.
Stuff it out.
Ruin it. Right? And to me, I don't want to ruin forward. I want to shift forward. I want to learn forward. I want to develop forward. I want to move forward. I want momentum forward. I don't know.
Decide forward.
Isn't it?
decide forward, move forward. Yeah, I see where we're going with this.
Because here's the thing, and I think this is so. I was actually in a conversation with someone around this yesterday because I see it a lot when people come into my world. And it's like, I know that I don't want to do it this way. So, say failure. I know that I don't want to fail. But if I wasn't to fail, what would I do? How could I do it? How would that look differently? What lens would I use instead? If it wasn't failure, and many would say success, but what is it? Like, if it's not failure, for me, it's growth. Because I always go, challenges are going to come along the way. Now, what am I going to learn from it? Or if we use what Nikhil said, having been in the fitness industry, I love anything talking about the gym and muscles and health and all that sort of thing. So if we think about that, it's growth, it's development, it's with the whole muscle side of it. Like, I don't know that I reached failure. I reached the point of that I push that I thought I couldn't go to before. So what is that? New levels.
Level forward. I'm thinking level up.
But do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's an interesting concept.
I do know what you mean. I mean, these are things and phrases that, we hear about all the time. And some of them are way overused, and some of them are kind of like, kind of that stock thing that they use to try and motivate you to get you going. And, I'm not for that stuff. I like the fact that you think differently.
Really different?
Yeah. I love that. I mean, the first time you and I ever spoke, I'm like, wow, Kira Marie really looks at things drastically differently. I love it. It's refreshing because I think, we always do what we always done. We always get what we always got. If we think about those, think about things different. Just like talking about New Year's resolutions. When I said, oh, New Year's resolution is bad phrase. Well, is it really bad? Well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just, we look at through a different lens. So I like that.
Yeah. Why do you think it would be benefit? And this is because I'm literally having these conversations to hear new insights or to hear how you see it or perceive it. So I always talk about new lenses and what if we were to use a different lens? And I think this is part of the new approach to leadership. How would you see that changing if you were to use new lenses and what you do?
When I think of it from a literal sense, looking through a new lens, I mean, I'm looking into a camera right now that has a lens on the front of it, which drives me nuts because I want to look at the TV. I want to look at the monitor so I can see your face.
Well, I've got my camera there, but I still look here.
I mean, my camera's maybe 5 inches above my I got to figure this out a lot bit better because I'm looking into the camera right now. So I'm looking at you, but I like to look at someone's face.
Yeah,
so
me too. That's why I have to do it. Yeah.
So I got to, but anyway, ask your question again because I just completely had a brain. Like, sorry.
I love that about us.
I had a stroke July 19th, so I've got my brain is.
Oh my gosh, even I don't, and I didn't even have a stroke, and I'm struggling to remember what that was.
I'm 48 years old, and so I got a little part of my brain that's out of there's a little out of order spot up in my head. So occasionally I just completely, what was I just eating? I don't know. I can't remember. But remind me what I was just eating. It's my wife's like, you're eating that, so it's.
We were talking. All I know, I do remember the bit of.
Oh, I got it.
The new lens. Yes, me too. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Thank you. And Nikhil's probably like, keep it together, guys. So
no, I love it. I think it's great.
So looking through a new lens. So anyway, I'm looking at this lens and I'm thinking, when you put a new lens on, I have a friend that's a photographer.
Yes.
And when she puts on another lens, the angles that she can get, she can go wider. Like, if you want a wider shot, we have family pictures taken and, I have 9 kids, you can't see in the picture, but she's like, let me change my lens. She had to change her lens so that she could fit everybody into the picture. So you've got a telephoto lens that allows you to be able to zero in on one thing and get really specific on that one thing. Or you've got your wide lens that kind of gives you a 30,000 foot view of things. So I think every situation in life, pick that lens that you want to look through. I mean, sometimes we need to really focus in. Telescopic lens, boom, right in there. Laser approach on that. Or other times, all right, let's pan out. let's kind of look at everything. And so I think knowing that you need to look at things through a different lens, knowing when to put on that other lens is very important, because it has a lot to do with the decision that you make on something is based on how you're looking at it. And just so,
which is of course my whole focus on it is my whole thinking on it is like, what if we have a different lens? Then what decisions could we use or be making at the table that would then change the solutions we come up with, right? Like a little bit of a pattern thing there. And I think that creates around this whole awareness piece where I don't even know what lens to use sometimes, because I haven't been in the conversation. I've not even been in a space or an environment where I've had to use that lens. But I kind of get really excited. It's something we were starting to talk about before we came live on here. And that was like, I'm, over this Christmas break, I try to do something. I only had kind of 3 days that I was really off the grid, because just the season I'm in, I'm working pretty solidly right now. And, but these, 2 of the days I literally just sat in front of Netflix and I tried to watch something totally out of my space. And there's actually a reason to it. There's a reason, because I think I get so caught up, and you think this is just the world you're in, this is what it's about, this is how you look, and you start having a lot of biases and conditionings because you're not pushing yourself out of these environments or thinking, right? And so I kind of get fascinated, and I'm watching this series on the cartel, and let's be clear, I'm not advocating the value system, the belief system, the thinking behind all that. But what fascinates me, and I think this is always the truth, is I can be involved in a world, have very different beliefs, very different value system, very different thinking, but I can still learn from it. And what I think is fascinating is their ability to build community and take people on a journey with them where that person never, ever intended to come on that journey with them. And yet, within time, if you watch and the way they build relationships, which we'll talk about in a minute, on the importance of relationships, and it just fascinates me, because it's not a lens I normally use, of course. It's not the way I do life, but I'm fascinated to how people get involved in that, or why their thinking was to even make a decision to be doing some of the things they do in that show. Any thoughts?
I love, I kind of have the same passion. I do like to watch stuff like that and kind of think about that. So, but the only problem in my household, my wife likes to watch something completely different. So if I have to watch that type of stuff, she has to be asleep before I can get into that. So, because she's not interested in that, so anyway, how I think about that. No, I think I think my belief is that you can learn something from every situation. You can learn, even if you take the evil and all the crazy things.
Correct.
You take all that and you're like, oh, wow. But I had a mentor I still stay in contact with today. Yes. And I'll never forget this. I was in his office and I was a salesperson for him. He was my manager. And we were talking about somebody that I was having difficulty with in the office that was causing a lot of discomfort for me as far as interacting with this person. And so my mentor was Tom. And Tom said, Christopher, I'm a visual person. I'm a very visual person. Obviously, I brought that up because I wanted to look at you as I'm talking. Yes. So he said, Christopher, I want you to picture this. He says, with that person, he says, push back all the bad things, or push back all those negative things. Just push them back and away, off to the side. And then look at the person for those things that they have that are positive, that they bring to the table, that you can celebrate. And he said, in everybody, you can push back those negative things. And when you push those back below the surface, there's going to be something good. And so he challenged me. He said, when you leave my office and you go out into the room and you're in the bullpen there, as it was, where all the salespeople were all close together in this room, basically what this one girl was doing is she was stealing my sales. So I'll tell you what happened. There was a sale, and she heard me over talking that I was going to go present it to somebody, and then she would go in the other room and call that person before me and sell it to them before me, knowing that I was going to call. So, and obviously I'm upset about that because she's still taking money out of my family's pocket by, selling to the person before I was going to go to. But Tom said, Christopher, push away that negative and there is positive. And he said, trust me, just try it. So guess what? I did what he told me to do. And I did this to this one person. And when I pushed that aside, I'm like, oh my word. She is absolutely phenomenal at this aspect of getting someone to say yes to her in the sales process. Well, all I was focused on the fact of what she was doing. So he made me come back at the end of the day and report to him and say, so how did it go? And I said, well, she does this really, really good. And he goes, yes, she is really good at that. He says, are you going to start applying that to how you do things now? I said, absolutely. He said, what are you going to do about the other stuff? I said, I'm going to push it aside. I'm going to ignore it. And I got that one. So he just told me, out of every person you come in contact with, push the negative out aside, and there's going to be something good in there. So just like you said with this cartel thing you're watching, you know what? Yeah, there's a lot of craziness of it, but really look in it. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I learned this a long time ago. Curie Marie, I'm not good at doing this. I'm getting better, but when I do apply it, lot lessons learned.
Yeah, and I think that's, I always talk about being able to exercise the muscle of human intelligence. And when you're able to start using a muscle, start exercising it, and for me, human intelligence is looking through a different lens in which we can think different, be different, act different, whatever it is, like that there is this whole space of being able to think intelligently, smart decisions, smart thinking. And I think that we often have in the past let things where and there's been a lot of racial tension, there's been a lot of political statements being said, there's been a lot of things that are creating challenges, which I believe is bringing division and not connection across the world. And what if we were to look through the lens, knowing that if we made smart decisions through the muscle of human intelligence, and we actually saw humanity as stakeholders at the decision table, how different would that be in maybe we disagree with everything that's being said, but we agree with one thing that is being said, and we just love that, and together we could actually connect on that piece. And that's when I think that would be seeing humanity at a decision table, because we know that this is going to add value to humanity, not take away from it, rather than it's Christopher and Curie Marie and they disagree on everything on this table except for one thing. But together we know that one thing's going to be something that we can connect, knowing that as a human in this race of life together, that we could actually move or shift it forward.
Everyone spends a tremendous amount of time focusing on those other things and not celebrating those things that we can work on together. I mean, and I believe that society, in a way, I mean, that's kind of the root of a lot of the problems that we have. I mean, whether it be political or whatnot, we're not zeroing in on, what are those things that we can, I mean, take what you just said. I mean, holy smokes. If we could just, if that could be applied more, think of the things that we could accomplish. Sometimes it's mind blowing for me to think about that. And we're not.
So for you, it's mind blowing. For me, that builds excitement. That builds absolute possibility of the fact that we need to innovate something different at the table. And that excites me in so many different ways, right?
It is exciting. I say to myself, one of the things for me personally is, I tend to worry, what is someone going to think about me? Or you're worried about, what is someone going to think about if I do this or I do that, how are they
Which
going to
goes
feel
back
about
to
that?
that resolutions conversation, right?
Yes.
Oh, we've lost you again. Come back, Christopher. Come back. By the way, Tanya, I saw your thing, Christopher. I've got an out of order spot in my brain too. And I was like, yeah, I so relate to that as well. Yes.
I'm back. So
I know
sorry, I don't know why it does that. Sometimes it does.
I don't know, but that was a good piece. So please, please, please tell me.
So there was a political person that there was some really good things that this person did, but the one thing that this person was really good at was not caring what other people thought of him. Now, this was in the past. Now, I know there could be some negatives to that as well, but what I mean by that is he took action, he did things, or if something happened or something didn't go right, or if there was something for him to be embarrassed about a failure that he had, very willing to get up in front of the world, and everyone knew what he did, but was able to get up in front of a camera in front of the world and pull himself together and continue to move forward and go past the fact of worrying about what everybody was thinking of him and not having that affect decisions that he's making or things that he's working on. And so it goes back to what I was saying. You push away the bad and you look at the good. That's something good that I can apply in my life. Don't be so concerned about what everybody thinks of you, because that's going to slow me down for the potential of the things that I could be doing, being concerned about what others are thinking about me. So,
okay, let's use that for an example.
Okay.
So you think about it. What's stopping you right now because you worry about what people are thinking about you?
So sometimes, gal, if you want me to be like specific, like pick something.
Of course. Just
okay.
And don't overthink it. Just what comes to your top of your brain.
So I have something now that I've launched a course, and I'm teaching people how to build relationships.
Yeah.
And one of the things that would delay me from getting that out there is worried about, maybe someone might not like this, or maybe they might not think it's a good idea, or, maybe they think that everybody does this and this isn't really something as spectacular as what it really is. So maybe you might as well not even bother doing it. So
if we just take that, right?
Yeah.
So maybe someone's not going to like it. Maybe someone's not going to, it's not going to be the way they thought it would be, whatever those things are, right?
Right.
And that might be truth. And even so, that might be a maybe. So that's a perceived, problem. It's not a real problem. So that's an interesting concept in itself.
Yes.
And then what if 99 people absolutely loved it and there was just that one person? Do you think that thought and the time, the energy that you're putting into that might be a little bit off balance?
Absolutely.
Right. So then it's like, well, now we're spending energy on something that I should be actually thinking and spending that time and energy and on those 99 people that are going to love it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the third thing is that one person might not be the right person to be in there with you on this journey, on the pathway forward, but those 99 people are meant to be with you. How's that going to impact not just what they're learning there, but all those great things that they're going to get from it and impact in their sphere of influence? How many more is that now going to impact?
Huge. I mean, you can't count. It's a ripple effect.
Give me one thing that it could impact for them.
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
So if you think about it, not only just in their world, they're going to learn something from building relationships. What can that now? Maybe one person's going to build a great relationship, and that's going to affect how in their sphere of influence.
It's just gonna. It will go. It will. It's like a domino effect. I mean, that person's gonna affect someone else and someone else and someone else.
In what way, though? Give me a specific way they could. Here's an example.
Yeah.
So an example could be, now because I know how to build a relationship with someone different, I am able to open up an opportunity and get a new partnership in the door, a collaborative partnership, because I learned from what you have just taught me. So that's going to now help change lives, because from that partnership we're going to increase the economic capacity that we have as a company, and from that we're going to help clients to be able to set goals better. Because of the New Year's resolution, I had to put that one in. Set goals better. They're going to be able to now have the right pathway to go ahead, and they're going to get so many more people coming into their doors. So already we've got a domino effect, right? From one thing, from one person, that is a possibility, right?
Right.
So what's a result that they could get from yours?
Result? Well, I mean, your example is amazing. The collaborate. I mean, one relationship,
Yes.
one door. If someone applies those things, I mean, someone is literally one relationship away from blowing the doors off of their business or having that contact that they need. I mean, there's so many people that have so many wonderful things that they can share to the
Yes.
world. There's so many wonderful things that people are going to have to leave their impact on the world. But sometimes that person needs one other person as part of that piece of the puzzle to be able to take it to the level where it needs to go. And
Love
some
it.
people don't know how to get that connection with that person. I mean, bringing two people together on one project, they both contribute something that takes everything to the next level. So if people don't have those relationships, if they're not able to make those connections, it's going to limit how big and how far it is that they can go with what they have to share the world. And so I know.
So how does that make you feel, knowing that?
Yeah, it makes, when I say that, it makes you feel really good inside. It makes you feel like,
how does it really make you feel?
happy.
Feel it. Happy. Good.
Oh, it
What
makes you
else?
feel happy. You feel it in here.
I could hear you get excited about it too, right?
Yeah, you could. You could. I could hear.
Right.
I was getting excited about it. I mean, you see my shoulders go up and my posture changes and everything. But you've got those two people on the shoulder. You've got the one.
No. So here's the thing: you went and you reverted back to, I've got this other one here, and then this is part of what I'm going to talk about, and so much of my work. But again, it's like going, well, New Year's resolution or not. Well, we can choose whether we want to do that or not. We don't need the world to decide whether that's the right thing for us, or is this the capacity in which we do things. And in your case, you can let those other things stop you. Go back to your default system, which, by the way, does hold you back, but it holds you back because of one person, not those 99 people that you could be helping change their world. And that you don't know what the domino effect is, because actually in their sphere, because they're now built that relationship, that's a whole lot of different people that they can be affecting. And that is what is interesting, is we often focus in on the things that will stop us,
right,
rather than going, what will drive us, that we will do it no matter what.
Exactly.
No matter what. And that should be driving you, right? That that if I put this out there, and it's okay if some don't want to come on this journey, but those that do, I am helping someone who can then help to change the world. Like, I don't know about you, but that's kind of a driver for me.
You don't know about me. No, you know about me. That is a driver. I mean, that's, and if you have time, I've got one more that I'd love to bring up that if you want to,
of course, go for it.
Stay in this department for a second and see. Now, let me say something.
Yeah.
It's not easy to be vulnerable. It's not easy to say, well, hey, so I got one more for you. And this is something
and can I just say thank you for being vulnerable. And you say that, but it's even more so in leadership, for leadership to be vulnerable. And I think that if we talk about a new approach to leadership, there has to be this space, and this is a safe space,
right?
Because there's no judgment on this. There is absolutely no judgment, but it's just, and that's again using a lens and going, hey, if we were to use a different lens and we could open it up, does this sit better? Could this be a more effective way to do it, more efficient way to do it? And I think if we can do that in leadership, right? And part of being in leadership is, what if there was a vulnerability that we can start having, and creating safe spaces where, as a leader, that you were to go to new levels, then how does that have that domino effect in your sphere of influence, right? So thank you. I appreciate it.
You know, when you bring up about being vulnerable, one thing I've learned as a parent, 25 years being married, 9 kids, and I don't know what period of that 25 years that it finally aha moment, like, wow, we need to be doing this more. The more vulnerable you are for your kids, I mean, a lot of, I grew up in a generation where the parents knew everything, they had all the answers. You're wrong, we're right. And no, your parents were never really emotional. They didn't show, they never, hey, I failed on that, or I made a mistake. It was, we always do everything right. It's just kind of the generation that I grew up in. That was kind of the mentality of parenting. And one thing that I've learned, and I've actually learned this better from my wife, Jennifer, is being vulnerable in front of your kids, and then realizing, hey, that really wasn't the best way that I could have done that, or that wasn't a good, being vulnerable to that, to them. I mean, this is a whole topic for a whole nother, us back and
another
forth
conversation.
But everything that you said, I see how that's applied in us as parenting, and having that vulnerability with your kids, because they look at you and go, oh, I can really relate to mom, and I can relate to them. They can relate to me. They see what I'm going through. We might be at different levels, but mom and dad can kind of look at through, looking at lenses, they can kind of see. So anyway, that what you're saying is absolutely amazing. But the other thing I wanted to bring up is one thing that I think is really important, that is a problem. And I suffer from this from time to time. And I've got things written on my wall to remind me not to do this. Is basically what I have written on my wall is some quotes from some individuals that say, stop comparing yourself to others. Don't compare your middle to their end. I mean, you look at a lot of people that are successful, and here's all the accomplishments that they're having. And when I say their end, not the end of their life, but, don't compare your start middle to their end. And I think comparison syndrome is something that I've suffered with. And I see I have some very well-established friends that are doing very well financially and well in their business, and they still suffer from comparison syndrome. And social media contributes to that immensely. Everybody puts out on social media how wonderful everything is and how great their lives are going. And sometimes you think, wow, mine's not going as well as what theirs is.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there because there's a huge story to that, and we don't have the time today. But
okay, sorry to give you some big one, but
no. I think it's a fantastic one to go down. But here's what I would do and think about straight away is you are so passionate and clear about what the comparison, syndrome is yourself, right? What if you were to start going, if it wasn't comparison and it was, I'm setting the pace as a leader in my own sphere of influence, I'm now going to be standing for what? I am going to be firm on what this looks like, because this is so important in my belief system for this to be the new way of doing it. What if you were to go, okay, if I'm to do all that, and there was a future thing of how it could look like if it's not comparison, but it could look like hope. It could look like peace. It could look like success of, more fathers being great with their kids, or, more of a situation where you can go, actually, I'm fantastic and I'm leading the way in the way that I am having, building relationships, and I've created something that I know is the best way to do it. And I think it's so easy for us to look at what other people are not doing because we're not confident with what we are doing. I think it's so easy to look at, well, they do it this way, and if I do it differently, they're going to not like it. Well, innovation means that you do it differently. Innovation means that there's the possibility for you to bring something that is different, and you need to actually pioneer something and bring people on that journey with you. And it's going to be dang hard. It's not easy, right? But that's the exciting part, is if you don't like the way something's being done, or you hate comparison, yet you find yourself falling into that,
Right.
you're not comparing. What are you actually doing? Are you leading the way? Are you bringing some hope that maybe needs to happen? And you've worked through to get to that point. Now bring others on that. And I think that is one of the biggest things, is that we know where we fail.
Mm-hmm.
So in your case, what do you see if you weren't suffering from comparison syndrome? What would you be doing or having, or now that we've had this conversation?
Now, I don't suffer from it all the time.
I didn't say that,
No.
but the fact that it's still
Yeah.
a default system that you can hook into
Mm-hmm.
means that it's still there. So if you
Yeah.
weren't having that,
Right.
what would you rewire to?
Well, I would rewire to staying in my lane,
Perfect.
staying with my inspired thought process. The
Perfect.
day when you have that moment, when you have that aha moment where you're like, boom, this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is what I'm supposed to do, and I know why I'm supposed to do it, and I know who it's going to impact.
Yeah.
That is what I must go back to. And that focus is it's great what they're doing, and it's great that they're making $150 million, or they're making whatever and whatever and whatever. And whether they really are, you really don't know that, because they're just, everyone's throwing, but stay focused when you have that aha moment. This is why I'm doing it. This is who I'm trying to impact. This is the legacy I'm trying to make for my family. This is what I'm trying to do for people. That is the lens that I'm looking through. When that lens went on, I'm like,
Perfect.
boom. So that, I believe, and believe, and have done and have felt, which keeps you on
Which has
track.
got you to where you are now. It's your
Right.
starting point from today onwards.
Right.
Here's the thing you need to think about is, if I was to play a bigger level, what would that look like? How does that come about? And I would just head for that. I don't care. Like, I'm one of those horses that don't have, have put the blinkers on to the side of me. And, like, even, the famous platform that everyone is talking about right now, Clubhouse, thank you. I'm not on it. Why? Because I had so much to focus on right now that if I was to do that, it would be a massive, distraction in my world. And that's because I know where I need to be going. And for me, having a conversation and putting this and setting this time aside was way more important right now, in amongst all the other things that I need to get done. And I think that's where we need to get so excited about what we're doing.
Right.
So realize that we are doing it a different way. And if so, then what does that look like, and how can we bring others on that journey? That is absorbing my whole life right now. Is I've got this amazing thing that I do and think and want to develop as a new approach to leadership. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be building it on my own. I want to take people on that journey. How do I do that the best way? And it doesn't mean that I've got it all right. It just means I've got some concepts. I've got some great starting points, some lenses in which we can start looking through, mm-hmm. and together take people on that journey. And I think as soon as you think it's all about you, it's all about the fact that you have to know everything, like you were saying as a parent, mm-hmm. the fact that you have all the lenses and you know what to do, that takes away the fact that vulnerability is not a good thing, and it takes away so many things and limits us, because all of a sudden now we're stuck in a conditioning that everyone else is putting on us, or we've put on ourselves, mm-hmm. It actually doesn't need to be our reality. So does that help?
I love it, and love what you said about bring someone along for the journey with you.
Yeah.
That is, I don't want to use the word romantic, because I think you know where I'm kind of going. I
think that's kind of beautiful. Bring on romantic. Woo.
I mean, it's kind of a romantic. It's a warm and fuzzy. And the biggest thing I'd think of when we talk about relationship, so when I started to talk about what it is that I teach people, someone got exposed to it just kind of indirectly, and this person was like, this is amazing, I love it, and I want to go on this journey with you, let me come aboard. And it was like, absolutely, you can come aboard, let's go. And there are other people out there that want to come on board, and let's go, and those are the ones that we need to serve.
Totally. And here's the thing, we've run out of time today, but we could talk for hours, and we're going to be talking for hours. And that's the great thing. And we talk about the journey. Leadership's a journey, and we don't have it all right. That's why we're having these conversations. That's why we're back and forward and thinking. But there are some spots in which people can come. And, I said yesterday on my call there, like very much so, of how I believe collaboration is a great way to build, this new approach of leadership as well. And I don't know that there's been great examples, and I'm really busting to hear if there are great examples of really successful collaborative ways in which people do it and grow their capacity in that way. Because in my world, there has not been a lot of examples that are good. There's touches of it, but there's not ecosystems that are built around specifically collaboration. And that's been my whole focus on what I'm building as a company. And I know us as two amazing humans across the globe, we have joined together and we are collaborating, and we will be releasing, I don't even know when, but when is our podcast meant to be coming out? So people, when they want to hear more of us talking.
Yeah, so this week we're gonna record two more podcasts, and we're gonna launch all those together. And so, yeah, I would say timely within 2 weeks, something will be up that people.
So you've heard it, everyone across the globe now. In 2 weeks' time, you should be checking it out. Because and what are we talking on there? Like, what's the title of it?
The Impact More podcast.
Of More, yeah.
The Impact of More podcast. And what does that mean? You got to tune in to listen to see what it's about.
Exactly. So that's one place. And from that, we're going to build out some amazing, cool things as well, and training and all sorts of different things. So keep watching this space in that way. And I love it because we're joining together you with return on. So the ROR, we didn't get to talk more about that, but we do in our podcast a lot. Return on relationships, and me return on decisions. And then what does that look like together? Well, again, they'll need to check out the podcast to what that pattern comes to. But, I'm excited because, I think we're always stronger when we use, not just your genius zone and my genius zone, but we start using across the world other people and, their genius zone, and bringing that in to make more effective leadership development going forward. So, that's one way we're shifting. I always say we want to go from problem to solution. And I feel like that's how we're shifting, from problem to solution and shifting that dial forward. So I'm excited about that. If they want to know more about return on relationship, best spot for them to be able to connect with you is?
Go to RORuniversity.com, RORuniversity.com.
Yeah. How cool is that?
It's super cool. And, as you were talking, I'm a visual, and there was a card. I envisioned two little figurines and some powerful hands just kind of scoot those two together.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for the opportunity to collaborate with you, Kiri Marie, because I feel a scoot. I feel like someone kind of went, I'm going to scoot these two little things together, and let's see what these two can come up with. And I'm excited. I'm excited for all of you out there, because in the words of Kiri Marie, you're going to come along this journey with us. Yeah. And we look forward to when you come on this journey, because we're going to have a lot of fun on this journey together.
Yeah. Okay. So just in finishing up, what have you got from this conversation today? What's something you're going to either learn or take with you or do differently?
Biggest takeaway for me personally is the focus on going back to what I just said. There are individuals out there that you must invite to come along in this journey that I'm going on. And there are people that are ready to get on board and to go on this journey and have something change for them. And the ones that aren't ready, maybe they will be someday, but let's focus on the ones that are ready to come aboard. And, that aha moment that I had, that's the focus all the time. That's what will continue to drive me. And that was great. Really great conversation today, and it benefited me so much. What was your takeaway?
Yeah, so for me, it's the importance of refocusing the rewire. I think that that's such a good thing to be reminded of, and to make sure that I'm putting that out in what I'm doing more of, because I know that has helped change my decisions, but also helped change my relationships with others. Because, when we, instead of seeing someone, I had this amazing conversation with Mary yesterday about, drugs and alcohol and addiction and things like that. And we, one of the things she said was, we need to see them not as a person who is crazy because they've got these addictions, but really see them as a human first, and that they have value as a human, and that actually they've just got an addiction, and like this is a problem that they have. And I think, well, that is the beautiful thing, that if we rewire, instead of seeing it as comparison, but seeing it as future hope, a pathway that you might not know of now, but you really want to come and be curious to see how you could come on that journey with us. And I think just knowing that is so important that's today's conversation has reminded me of that.
Love it. Thanks for having me on today.
Oh, you're so welcome. And, this has been another amazing decision table where, like, we've just been real, raw, and we just, have, I don't know, gone to different levels. There's no agenda to it. There's no requirement to it, boundaries. It's just whatever we decided to have a conversation around. And I'm truly honored to be able to have that with you today. And I think you do this so well. And I was thinking about it yesterday. I was going, if Christopher was on this, he would have been terrified because I didn't do this. And it was like, if people are loving these conversations and want to, connect with me, then, reach out, comment, and I will get back to you. But also, if you love it that much and you want us to be able to have better conversations because people are asking more questions or putting more insights in these comments, then share it with the people in your world. So, we might have a few on now, but then if a few start sharing it, there's that domino effect.
Comment, share, and like. The biggest compliment you could give us is share this with somebody else.
He's so good at that, and I'm very grateful you're in my world and can do that, because I always forget things like that. It's like the housekeeping of it all, and I'm like,
what they taught us as children. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to share.
I just love, all that sort of thing is just like, that's why I have other people can do that sort of thing, because I just like being me. And I know you do too.
Please share.
From this moment. All right. Big love to everyone on this broadcast. And I'm so excited that people have stayed with us for this long. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.